Well, we're going live out onto all our favorite platforms. Great. And we're recording it to upload it to YouTube. And then, of course, it's also going to become a podcast. So let's get stuck into it if you're ready. And I've got a bunch of questions to ask you and chat about finding out the nitty gritty of Ange and the awesomeness of you. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Kylie Mowbray-Allen from Hello Media, and my little sidekick or side thing is Positive Passionate Businesswoman. I'm all about women supporting women in business and how much more we can do when we work together and collaborate and just support each other and lift each other up. So I love meeting amazing women along the way and then finding out more about you and what you do and why you do it. So I'd like to say this is Ange Dion from Ange Dion Consulting, but there's so much more I know than Ange Dion Consulting. There's a whole lot more going on. So I'm very excited to find a bit more, Ange. So firstly, tell us all how you got into business and how long have you been going with the business in its current format?
I started out about 13 years after I was with the company for 13 years, and I thought, okay, it's time to start my own thing. Started my side hustle, as I called it, to build the business before I became self-employed. And then I was officially self-employed as of the 1st of May, 2019. So I've been in business just over 2 years.
Congratulations on that. That's great. Particularly interesting that 18 months of that time in business has been in this current unusual state of affairs with the world as it is now.
Definitely.
So amazing to have survived and thrived through it. Do you feel like you're thriving through it?
I felt like last year I thrived through it. At this point, we're going through some testing times because some of my business is in construction. And as you might be aware, in New South Wales, construction sites have been banning most of the technicians from going into sites or tradesmen going into sites. So it's a little bit testing at the moment, but I'm sure it's time to pivot or improvise or look at restructuring and getting some new ideas for the future.
It's an interesting one, isn't it, that word pivot? So it was such the buzzword of last year and everybody figuring out, can I pivot? What even is a pivot? How would I pivot? And do I even want to pivot? Or do I just want to say goodbye to what I was doing and start something new? So how on earth do you help your businesses that are in the construction industry when there's probably not some very easy things to look at for them in terms of a pivot?
In my small team, the teams that I work with currently, because most of them are on stand down at the moment, we're looking at momentum. We're looking at motivating them. It's like, okay, guys, let's not look at what will happen if we fold. Let's look at how we're going to save us from folding. Let's look at what we can do to change tactics or strategies. Pretty much be there for them as much as possible, whatever it takes, just to keep them going. And I keep reminding them, we did this last year. We went through COVID last year. Most of us have survived it. Most of us have improvised and pivoted. Most of us grew over the time, expanded. However, this year is a lot harder because they put a stop on us. So it's just basically keeping the momentum going.
That's such a really good point, is about talking with them about how really to stay in their lane, stay focused, and talk about what happens next, etc. Not rather than, well, what do we do if this doesn't improve? So do you find you do a lot with people's mindset around this?
Definitely. We've got to get them out of doom and gloom, because there's a lot of doom and gloom going on at the moment. We've got to keep them, like I said, motivated. Some of them are motivated intrinsically. They do it on their own accord. But I suppose keeping them accountable or just checking in to keep them on the right, like you said, keep them focused. To me, it's like we're in a swimming pool. This is the lane we're going in. Don't detour, just keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that little saying about staying in your lane, because it's so often we start to panic and we look around. What should we be doing differently? What's everybody else doing? What's the world saying? What's the news saying? What's going on? What's social media saying? But keeping those things on and focused is so important, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. So, Ange, tell us something really interesting about yourself that others wouldn't know about you.
Really interesting about me that others wouldn't know is that I won a karaoke competition. Greek karaoke. Actually, I won a few karaoke competitions, but I won a Greek karaoke competition many years back. And that opened the door to a little bit of a musical career.
Fascinating. Tell me more about that.
It took off a little bit, started to become very popular in the Greek community. A few people found out that I could actually sing. And then mum didn't like the idea of me becoming a singer. So that was short-lived. So I put a stop to it immediately.
She worried about having a famous daughter?
It was the industry that I was headed into. She didn't want me doing that for a future.
Right.
And then, of course, I got married. So it was like, okay, now she's not going to be singing. She'll become a wife and have a family rather than be on stage.
Wow. So for those of you that haven't heard Ange sing, if you were following her on Facebook, and maybe you do it on Instagram, but I haven't seen it, but I've certainly seen it on Facebook. It's just wonderful when you sing in Greek. I just get all goosebumpy watching it. It's incredibly powerful. And I don't even understand a single word, and it moves me.
Well, Kylie, I will do a track for you. You have to give me a song that you like.
Yes.
Favorites. It'll take a few rehearsals, I'm sure, but I promise to post you a video of me singing your favorite track once I've mastered it.
Why don't I give you a few options, and then you can choose your favorite.
Definitely. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's so fun. Yay. So where do you get your inspiration from for the work that you do?
I was always on the positive side while I was growing up. It was always many years back, I started being positive, and then I encountered Tony Robbins when I was at a young age. I read his book, Unleash the Power Within. And then I just started the personal development journey, just looking at how I could inspire myself more or do better or do more. I was a massage therapist for 19 years. I'm currently retired from that, but I've got a lot of following that, when are you coming back? And I said, it's not happening. So in the time I found that I was getting energy off different people. And I wanted to be like these other people out there that was inspiring, that were role models, that had successful businesses, successful families. And I just absorbed as much as I could from learning from other people. And it's always been part of me to observe others and role model.
So how many years ago do you think that you started that journey of personal development?
Oh, I was about 26 years ago or something.
So that's incredible, having that foresight to know about investing in yourself so that you can grow as a person or in your business or whatever it is in. I certainly didn't come to the party that early on about knowing the importance of spending money on yourself to better yourself. So that's amazing. And that all started with the Tony Robbins book.
Pretty much. It was like, there's got to be an answer to something else. And then it wasn't a smooth journey by all means. Like, I ended up having divorce number 1, which cost me a fortune. Then I had to, I was flat broke twice in my lifetime because of situations out of my control. But then it was like, okay, I don't want to be sitting like this. I don't want to be like this. This is not who I want to be. And I didn't like being week to week. And the idea of not having a rainy day fund or a kitty, I didn't like that. So over the years, it just evolved, let's do something so that I have got something in place and just go from here, go from there. And then I went into personal development with an institute. And that was about 6 years ago, where I said, okay, I'm going to make this a career. And I was like, and I walked into the room and I was like, I can do that lady's job. I want that lady's job. I want, the training that facilitate the lady who owned the company. I was like, I want her job, and she'd be like, well, step on up. There's enough room for both of us up here. And I was like, okay. And that's how I just kept on pursuing. I'm not there yet, but I'll get there.
I think I might have mentioned this to you once before, but I can totally see you being like a female version of Tony Robbins. And I went to his UPW a few years ago in Sydney, and that command of this phenomenal stadium and everything, I could totally see you doing that. And, I've never met you in person, but watching you on Zoom and watching you, even when you're just doing lives, just to talking to the camera, not even with an audience on Zoom or something, the power that you can hold and the way that you even just the way you project your voice and everything, it's incredibly inspiring, I have to say. So I really, really look forward to watching where you go with all of that. And the possibilities are immense, I believe, for what's in your future. Now, when you talk about basically when you're doing your superpower statement, when you say about what you do as a business, can you do that one for everybody? Because I think it's very powerful. And then I've got a couple of questions about it I'd like to ask.
As in my reconstructing you spiel? Is that
yes.
what you're talking about?
Yes.
So I've been the queen of safety for the last few years. I spent 17 years around construction sites watching people go through depression and mental health and anxiety, and my own personal battles. So across the borders, and I figured out that I've become the reconstructing you coach, because I like to reconstruct people who are going through the dad syndrome, divorce, anxiety, or depression.
So I just find that astounding. So the reconstructing you. So the dad syndrome, I hadn't heard you say that before, with, what was it, divorce, anxiety and depression. So reconstructing you is incredible, because it's a very positive way at looking at people when they're feeling at their most vulnerable or they're most broken. Or
definitely. We'll put the broken people back together. It's like gluing them back together, making them shine and sparkle, giving them a good dust up and putting them back out into society so that they can re-emerge empowered.
And is that women and men?
Predominantly, yes.
Do they work with, how do they do that with you? Do they work through a program? Is it just the odd one-off session, or how do you prefer to work with people?
Normally we're done within 6 sessions.
Wow.
Actually, I'm yet to coach someone to 6 sessions.
Ange, that's incredible.
Yeah, provided they're willing to do it. I'll give them the tools that they need to move forward. However, they've got to be willing to do the work. And once they're willing to do that, no problem. We see some nice transformations. We see people opening up. I love the shy people that open up, and then they'll say something, and I watch them, and they go, "I've been hanging out with you," and I'm like. Or when I began my coaching career, I had a young lady who I've known for years say to me, "Can you please help my son? He's very nervous, very shy." So we started coaching the family, like we did a family group thing, so we didn't want to isolate the child. And then in that group session, we had the daughter pipe up, and then we had this younger kid pipe up. So the 6-year-old comes and says, "I want to do this too." So, and then he became the voice of the family. I was like, wow, we didn't see that one coming. Yeah.
Gorgeous. And do you do it, like, obviously pretend it's not COVID times, but just generally, do you do it online or do you do it in person?
We can do both. If you're in Sydney, we can do both. Obviously not through COVID. However, most of my work at the moment is going through Zoom, whereas I have recently hired a beautiful little office, and that little office comes with a workshop space. It comes with a boardroom for 6 people, and I can run 6 people a group intense day workshops, which is what was planned for this year before COVID started. Otherwise, we can do one-on-one sessions.
Amazing. Reconstructing you. I just think it's so powerful. I just love it. So do you have a mantra or a quote that you live by, or a word of the year, for example?
My mantra's always been, if it doesn't work for me, I'm not doing it.
I love that.
Because I spend a lot of time in my lifetime, and mind you, it took me 47 years to come to this realization that if it didn't work for me anymore, I wasn't going to say yes to anything. And it might sound selfish, but there's been times where I've turned up to places and I'm like, I didn't want to be here from the beginning. It's not my thing. I said yes to something, and then I turned up and then I felt miserable. And then I went home and thought, now what was all that about? You've now just done your head in for nothing, or you've spent the evening in a place of discomfort. And it choose this. Now I make smarter choices. And if it doesn't work for me, I just say, look, I'm sorry, it's not my thing.
I just love it. And I don't think it sounds selfish at all, but I've battled that in my own mind many times, because often I'll say yes to something, then the time comes along and I'm like, actually, I don't think I really want to do that. But do I not want to do it because it just doesn't feel right for me and I know I'm actually not going to love it at all? Or is it because I've just got a little bit lazy and I'm comfy where I am with a little Netflix and a fire? So weighing that up. And so often if I push myself to do it, I'll have a great time. But yeah, it's definitely a little balance in my brain about, why do I not want to go? Is it lazy, or am I just not up for it?
Definitely.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? It's a very tricky one. So what are the things that you would never in a million years stop doing, no matter what happened?
Helping people.
Oh,
It's a non-negotiable.
That's beautiful.
I've spent 19 years as a healer, healing the world through my massage career. That when I stopped that career, I became very disassociated and disconnected. And I struggled with that for years. And then at that point in time, I was in a relationship. I just started a new relationship, and then I got married to my husband at the time. And I found that went through and now that I'm doing, like, you know, the inner child work and the shadow work and everything else that we do once we come out of a relationship, I'm at a point where I'm like, did I take that with me through my marriage? Let's, you know, there's two sides to a story, obviously. Did I do everything I could, or although I gave a lot, did I give myself that much too? Did I give myself as much? And I probably didn't, because I was so disconnected that I wasn't feeling anything. I just went along with routine, system, and making everybody else happy. So yeah, going back to healing or working with people is my choice, personal choice. And no matter what I do in my future, it has to be something to do with helping people.
I love it. So I, about 3-ish or more, 4 maybe years ago, started a not-for-profit with my husband and our friend that we run just from the house. And I run it through a Facebook group, and it's called Bangalore Lionhearts, which we basically feed people in need and drive them to chemo appointments and stuff. And we have a whole team of volunteers that are just ready to help in so many ways. And our motto for it is that I started when I was first setting this all up, was it feels good to do good for others. And I think there's so many people that maybe it's even before retirement age, like their kids have grown, or maybe it is at retirement stage and they suddenly find themselves with a lot more time in their hands. And you just hear them say, I'm bored. I've got no purpose in life. I don't even know what I'm doing. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, there are so many voluntary jobs out there in the world. There's so many people in desperate need of all kinds of different support, whether it is a meal or whether it is just someone to chat to, even on the phone or whatever. So I just love that that's yours, is helping others. And I just think it needs to be more people doing that, I think. And wouldn't the world be a nicer place if more of us were helping? So what would you tell other women who are just starting out in business? What would you like them to know that would help them along the way?
Something that I kept on, I started in business, I guess I was in the business for about 6 weeks, I started in May, became self-employed. And then about November, I took on a coach. So it took me 6 months. And I was like, knowing what I know now, I probably would have started with a coach from the beginning.
That's so interesting, isn't it? So talk me through that. How did you decide that you even needed a coach? What happens? Because I think a lot of people feel like they need to do it all on their own.
Probably a lot of people feel that way, but then there's a lot of people that can't afford it. Like I couldn't afford in the beginning when I started in 6 months, at the beginning of my journey in my business. I found that my business was like, it was as a part-time income, and then I became self-employed. So I had to pick up the game real fast. So I started doing my bits and pieces, started doing some phone calls here and there. I had a great client list to call on, being in construction and doing the safety space. However, I was no good at sales. I just, for the life of me, and to this day, I still can't sell. I just refuse. I mean, I know he's going to be watching, but definitely he'll be laughing at me for that, but I actually hate sales. So when I went along, I saw my sales coach's stuff online, and I thought, okay, I'll check in with this bloke and see what he's doing. Then flew up to Brisbane to meet him and did a workshop for 2 days up there. And after that, I thought, and at the end of it, I said, that's great. I said, this is really good. I've come up here for 2 days, but I'm going to go home and I'm going to forget everything you taught me, and I ain't going to pick up the phone. I know who I am. And he was like, so I said, well, I need to join a group or something. I need to be accountable. I need to hire you. And he was laughing, and he goes, you're probably the only person that's ever said that to me. I said, well, I know I hate sales. I come up here for a reason, to learn the sales process, so I can grow my business. So accept that you don't know everything. Seek people that know the skill that you're lacking and hire them to help you get to where you need to get to fast. Because in business, you don't want to do things slowly because you want money coming in.
So it's an interesting thing, isn't it, about this can't afford a coach to move you forward? Because actually, if you just at the end of the day, I think the can't afford term in itself is an interesting one. I've said it many times throughout my life, but then I thought, hang on a second, I can, example, or I can still afford a mobile phone. So it's about choosing where you put those limited funds that you have. So there came a point in my life, which clearly it did in yours, that I realized unless I actually invest in a coach, then I'm actually not going to be able to move the business forward as quickly as I need to or want to. The minute that I started investing in it, the growth was just phenomenal. So I've been, doing that for a fair few years now. And every time I find the new person that I want to work with, as you said, you identify a need and you go, I need to find someone that's better at me than that and learn from them and soar in that direction. And my goodness, it has really helped my growth enormously. So I'm a big believer that every coach needs a coach. In fact, every business owner needs a coach. Definitely. And or a mentor to work with or whatever. I'm actually part of an organization called Sourdough Business Pathways, and it's a voluntary organization that you can get a mentor. So I'm a mentor for them. So you just put yourself out there and say, this is where I need help in my business. And then I give them, say, 3 sessions for free. Nice. Or you could, some people donate 6 months for free. Some people just do one-off session, but I'm sure there's a lot more organizations out there like that. But it's a really good starting point before you've actually got the money to be able to pay for that coach. But also like Nortec, Small Business Connect, they've got business advisors, and because of COVID, it's all free at the moment to get 4 sessions with a business advisor. So I'm not sure about what's happening in Queensland because that's just for New South Wales, but or obviously other parts of the country. But it's amazing when you can just tap into those areas and get that growth off the ground just at the very beginning and get started, and then find the right coach. And I should also mention right now and do a shout out for him, but Ange and I have both worked with the same, I call him the results coach rather than the sales coach, because I'm also allergic to the word sales. And but he's been really, really instrumental in some big growth in my business. I started working with him last July, so it's been a very interesting time with him. And that's Andrew Cominos. He's the from the results guys. Super amazing guy that does really get the results. But it's funny that you and I both hate the word sales. So when I was able to flip that word around, so I don't get on a sales call with somebody and I don't ring up and try and make a sale. What I do is I actually just want to help people. So that for me is better. And then people pay me to help them in the area that they need. That feels so much better for me than saying, okay, I'm going to sell to this person, because it just doesn't feel right. It definitely doesn't feel that something that sits well in my heart, but helping definitely does. So yeah. So I always just say I'm allergic to that word sales. It's like, it just makes me think of those door-to-door salesmen from when I was a kid selling the Encyclopedia Britannica or something like that. It's got very little appeal for me. So back to that starting a business and people getting off the ground, etc. You said that you would want to start with a coach straight away. So how do people do that? How do you think that? How would you say to people to go out and find the people? So for example, for me, I'm always just looking at what other people are doing. So I look at people that I like what they're doing, and I'm thinking, who are they learning from? What appeals to me about that? And then I just do a whole lot of investigating. But how do you do it, Ange, or how would you recommend people do it?
I'm a referrals person. I like to refer. I like to get referred across. So like I met you, Kylie. When I met you, it was like, okay, what's Kylie doing? All right, do I know anything about what Kylie's doing? No. Do I want to follow Kylie and find out what she's up to? And then it's like, well, can it work for my business? And if Kylie's doing something that's going to work for my business, then I want to hang out with Kylie so I can get there faster, obviously. And that's pretty much been my philosophy. Just look at the power people out there that are, getting the successes and the accolades, and role model them, or go up to them and ask, what are you doing? Can I? Like recently I went into a workshop for the weekend, and I sat in the room, and half an hour into the room, I realized that I wanted to be working with this team. I wanted to join this team so that I can because they were going to accelerate my coaching career real fast. So I said to the guys at the back of the room, make sure you call me tomorrow. I said, I don't want to talk today. I definitely don't want to talk this weekend. But as of Monday or Tuesday, please call me so we can sign me up to join this institute, because I know that if I'm part of this team, the momentum is there. The people are doing what I want to do, and I'll be able to get there faster.
Brilliant. And I think you and I are very similar in that way. I know it. I feel it. And if it's the right thing, then I'm ready for it and I want to do it and I'll find a way to make it happen. But for example, 2 weeks ago, I did a discovery call with someone where they're running this program. And I was really fascinated. So I booked a discovery call, jumped on. I said, yes, sign me up. She's like, okay. Oh, yep. Okay. Oh, and I said, so what happens now? She said, I'll send you an invoice. 2 weeks later, no invoice. So I reached out and I said, just want to check in with you. And she's like, are you sure you want to do it? People normally take a while to think about it. And I thought, that's so fascinating. Check my emails again today. No invoice yet. I thought, wow, that's an intriguing business way, isn't it? Of the opposite to what we've been taught to.
I would have been done after that.
Yeah, follow up, follow through. Yeah, absolutely. It definitely has made me think, and anyway, I'll see what happens, because you never know what's going on in people's lives, and obviously there's lockdowns and it's tricky for people, but yeah, especially when and it's no different too. We had these 3 teenage boys during the school holidays knock on the door. Very good of them. They were going around wanting to make money washing cars. I was like, Good on you guys, that's fantastic, well done. How much? They said $20. I said, for the 3 of you, that's a great deal for me. Sign me up. And they said, okay, here's the flyer. Give us a call. I said, no, I said, sign me up. And they said, so, okay, you could just call on that number. I said, I don't think you understand. I'm literally saying, I am in. Here's my money. Do it. Like, it was bizarre. To be honest, nobody had said yes yet. So I was very happy to be their first yes.
Nice.
Yeah, very good on the boys. And of course, then I put it in our local community board Facebook group, and then they were busy as anything. And no doubt made a fair bit of money and hopefully put their prices up, because that's not very much money between 3 of them. And they did a good job. So that was good.
That's
so,
so
you're in Sydney. Have you always been in Sydney?
I was born in Greece, raised in Sydney. Been in Sydney all my life. In my married life, I ended up at the Gold Coast for a short stint. We relocated for a sea change. So I spent about a year up there. Absolutely loved it. And then headed back to Sydney because there was no work, or hubby couldn't get a job. I had a job in the council as a trainer, but I wasn't making ends meet. So I had to come home, cut our losses and move back to Sydney. But yeah, no, predominantly Sydney based.
And would you go and live in Greece?
Definitely not live in Greece. Definitely not live in Greece. However, the goal is to live somewhere where it's warmer all year round.
Yeah.
That would be my retirement plan in the next few years, to sort out where I'm going to go and move to so that it's nice and warmer, because I don't like winter and I don't do cold very well.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I don't like summer, and I live somewhere that's very warm all the time. Well, it gets a little chill at night here in the winter. But I would definitely like it to be like this all year round. Not, we could literally just swap then, couldn't we? That would be good. So then, what about Greece and your heritage and the culture and all of that? I know you were born there, and obviously you sing Greek and everything. Do you feel like that culture and that Greek blood that's in you, does that make you look at things differently? Does it? Have you felt different through your life? Growing up here with a different heritage.
I had an accent when I first got here and started speaking English. I spoke a lot of Greek. I mean, I got here at 18 months old. However, my Greek culture and heritage is not only just part of my DNA, it's on everything I do. I listen to Greek on a daily basis. I get out of bed, the first thing I do is put the Greek radio station on, live streaming from Greece. I drool when I watch the Greek shows. Like, mum and dad have got the Greek channels. So if there's a Greek show showing an island, I'm like, I can't watch because we can't go there at the moment. And I spent a decade out of my lifetime going backwards and forwards to Greece every year for 6 weeks for the summer. So I didn't have a winter for like more than 2 weeks.
Wow.
A year running for 10 years. So everything I do is Greek. And I was very different because I'm loud. I was very loud growing up. Something that, had to tone it down. People don't like you. Admittedly, over the years, it did change. And, I matured and learned stuff about myself and changed along the way to improve myself, not necessarily to tone it down, as everybody used to put it. And a lot of my friends say, you have changed so much over the years. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm still Ange. I'm still the same person. It's just different different to others because like I'm born in Greece, and if you hear me speaking Greek, it runs a million miles an hour. Even sometimes people say to me, you need to slow down, I can't understand you. That's very different. It's very different to being raised in Australia.
Yes, I'll bet. And what about Greek food?
Love it. Happen to
What's your
live with
favourite?
the world's best Greek cook, my mum. I'm very
Really?
spoilt. She's forever cooking and I'm forever eating. So, you know, my favorite Greek dish would be moussaka. Can't go past the great moussaka. But then anything that comes out of the Greek kitchen, I'm there. I'm sold.
Oh, it's just the flavors are just exquisite, aren't they?
Yep, definitely.
I spent a little bit of time in Corfu in my early 20s.
Nice.
I had an amazing job. I was based in London, but we traveled all over the world doing the filming the Formula One World Powerback Championship and the European Jet Ski Championship. So I would spend on average around 4 to 5 days in each country, but generally not in the big city. So for example, the race was on Corfu. So only a day in Athens and then boof over, I think we did a week in Corfu, but just stunning. And what I could not believe is that it is exactly like the pictures. And isn't that the case that things are never like the pictures? But it was exactly like the pictures. The white, the blue, the everything was just so beautiful. The people, oh my goodness. I just absolutely loved it. And then, you know, of course, my big fat Greek wedding when that movie came out here. And then I just had this big love of there's something about that culture that's very intriguing to me and very interesting. So maybe that's why I just love it when I see you doing your singing or you've got your Greek get-togethers. So yeah, it's just wonderful to see. It really is.
Thank you.
Very lucky being part of something like that, I think. You know, a lot of us don't have that. We, you know, particularly people that are born in Australia, or I was born in New Zealand, but I'm not, you know, I'm not indigenous to the country. So it's just interesting, isn't it? What is our cultural heritage? So when you have something like you do, it's really your identity. It's amazing. So I asked a question on Facebook the other day. What do you think is what would be called your national dish? And I said, being a Kiwi, it'd be lamb roasted and pavlova. And of course, all the Australians said, that's our one. That's our one. But then when you start looking at it, we don't even really have anything that's amazing. When, you know, you could say 1 million different dishes, or maybe 100 that are absolutely traditional Greek dishes. Or straight off, you could say what was Italian or Japanese or whatever. But definitely not for Australia, New Zealand. What I loved though was how many people said the meat pie. The meat pie is so Australian. I was like, oh, that's something to be super proud of, isn't it?
It's an icon.
The icon is the meat pie. So Ange, what's a top tip that you can share about being a woman in business?
Put on your big girl outfit, imaginary stilettos, lipstick, and go out and rock the world.
Oh, that's magic. So you think it's about dress up and show up?
It's the confidence you're going to feel even if you're pretending to dress up.
Yeah, brilliant.
Bring it on.
I absolutely love it. We've had a couple of people listening and putting in comments here. We've got this great one. Great chat, ladies. I love Greek food too. Awesome. So, Ange, I know that you're in lockdown right now, being in Sydney. What's something that you can share with people that we can finish on about how you stay positive and how you support others to stay positive during this time when we're all around us is a lot of negativity?
Well, I'm one of these people that never watches TV. Unfortunately, due to my current roles, in my business, I have to watch television, so I have to watch the news and be on top of everything. However, the biggest thing I've learned, and I read this book 2.5 years ago when I came home. It's called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And he taught me that I need to live in the moment. So there is no better time than doing just that. We cannot control the situation. We can't change anything. We're going to be in lockdown for 30 days, maybe longer. We're not going to change anything in the lockdown. We're not going to shorten the period. We're not the politicians. We're definitely not government. So all we can do is focus on ourselves. Focus on your health, focus on your mental sanity, focus on what you've got at the moment and hold on to it for dear life. And just take every minute of the day as it comes.
I just love that. A little bit of gratitude for what you do have. I've been practicing that one for 14 years since my husband broke his neck. and he did a year in hospital, and I realized I could really struggle through this, or I could actually find a way to change it for myself. So we had a 4-year-old at the time. We had to move to a different place so that, we could be near the hospital and all that. And what I realized is I just needed to wake up every morning and feel grateful for one thing. Some mornings finding that one thing was really tough, but it could be like the fact that I'd had a daughter before he had his accident, or, all these different kinds of things. But then as the years have gone on, it's got easier and easier and easier to find those things to be grateful for. And it completely changes the way that you move into the day. If you spend the first little moment thinking about something good that's happening in your life. So, and sometimes it's just the fact that you're alive, and, that's a privilege denied to many. So
very true.
Yeah. Well, Ange, it was just such a treat to have you here with me tonight, chatting. And thank you so much for joining me. And more than anything, I'm really looking forward to your Greek song, or I'm going to give you a little list of some of my favorites, but I'd love to hear you singing in Greek though. So maybe tonight could be the night. Do a little Instagram live.
We'll do something for you, definitely.
That'll be fun, Ange. Thank you so much. And thanks
My pleasure.
For me. And thanks for being the first of the Hello You podcast for positive, passionate women in business.
It's been a pleasure. Have a great evening.
Awesome to be with you. Thank you so much, and have a great night.